Hello there and good Sunday, and thank you so much for joining us for this special live edition of Total Maine. I'm Terry Stackhouse. We're going to get to our expert panel from the In the Arena podcast. Coming up in just moments, they're here in studio. This morning, we're taking an in-depth look at the back and forth between the Mills administration and the White House over transgender athletes participating in high school sports. There was a tense exchange at the White House during a meeting of governors back on Friday. It came as President Trump was discussing an executive order that he signed last month and that he targeted comments towards Governor Mills.
But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine?
Down here,
Are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
And we are also examining this morning how one Facebook post got us towards Friday's announcement and the investigations that were announced from the federal government as well. It was last week that State Republican Representative Laura Libby posted this photo here claiming that a Greeley athlete placed 5th in boys pole vault in Class B last year and 1st in the girls division this time around. Greeley High, which is part of MS 8051, that's why the DOE is investigating the district. We spoke with Libby Friday after the meeting at the White House, and she accused Governor Mills of playing a game of chicken with the president.
If the governor chooses to advance this policy and continue to have boys participating in girls' sports, that's on her.
Libby's post has thousands of comments and shares. Some are calling her a bully. Others say that they agree with the stance. Okay, we are live again here in the arena on this Sunday morning. Again, we appreciate you joining in. Our panel of experts are here. First, I want to get a sense of the stakes here. The president threatening to withhold millions in federal funding from Maine. What are your expectations for how this is all going to unfold? And is this more than just words?
Well, the stakes are incredibly high. This was going to be tested by somebody when the president says, if you don't follow my executive order, he has lots of them. If you don't follow, I'm going to withhold funding. I'm going to punish your state. Well, this is the one that's going to get it started because Governor Mills has said, no, we are following state and federal law, and Congress appropriates money, not the president. So the stakes are very high here. At some point, likely the Supreme Court is going to have to weigh in on this.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't have to get to that point. Federal funds always have strings attached. I recall back in the Carter administration when they said if you want federal highway funding, you got to lower the speed limit to 55 miles an hour or you don't get the money. So this is not unprecedented, but it's personal. It's personal to the students in the school district. It's personal to all of the students in Maine. And I think what we're discovering is that a regulation, not a law, a regulation got us to this conversation.
And Ethan, I don't think they will argue that you can't put the strings on after the fact, after the federal money has already been appropriated.
Yeah, and you also have to understand that there's no law in place in Congress saying that he can do this. That's very different than what Jimmy Carter was doing. They passed a new speed limit and said to states, you got to put it in place or you're not going to get your funding. That's exactly what Janet Mills is saying. You can't take away funding when there is no law to support you doing that. So, this is just an attempt on Donald Trump's part to get the state of Maine to go against its laws, to discriminate against trans athletes. It's very disappointing. It's, honestly, it's kind of disgusting that he's going down this road. But I think in the end, Janet Mills will win. The courts will side with states having the ability to set their rules.
This all started with a controversial Facebook post from State Representative Laura Libby showing the face of a student. She says she stands by the decision to put that out there. We have blurred the face of the student. Their face was not blurred in the original post. What do you make of her choice to do that?
Well, this is in speaking just personally. I think if you say you want to protect children, protect that student as well. That's someone who's probably 16, 17 years old and doesn't deserve to become the center of a national controversy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That was inappropriate in my view. There's no reason for her to have used that photograph. She could have made the point that she's trying to make without engaging the student.
What about her argument that the student is participating in a public event, it's at a high level, state level? Does that change your opinion at all, or do you still think it was?
No, I accept the fact there are many people who know this student, people in that school, in that district, but that's one thing. But putting it out on social media means the whole world can weigh in on this, and that's generally not a good thing. Ethan?
Yeah, just really, I used the word disgusting earlier about what Donald Trump was doing. This is that times 12. Just really inappropriate to use kids. We're always very careful when we're in elected office not to cross certain lines. She can have whatever position she wants to have. Maine law is clear. What the Maine Principals Association has done is clear. It's constitutional within Title IX, the Maine Human Rights Act as well. She can dispute it all she wants, but to use children as a political pawn, just really, really disappointing.
And Terry, I would add, if Laura Libby and other Republicans want this policy changed, then the legislature's in session, submit a bill to do so. Make the case if you think it's a dangerous thing for students to, and I suspect you would probably find some bipartisan support for that.
What's the likelihood you think this is something lawmakers take up at Augusta when they're still talking about the budget and the...
Well, there's no doubt they have a lot on their plates,
Yeah.
but this has become a very important issue, and this is an opportunity, if they wish to, they can address it.
Yeah, I would like to think that it would be a bipartisan issue. I think if you put this out to referendum, it's not about the gender, it's about the fairness. And people feel like this is not fair to girls and women, and doesn't matter about the gender. A friend of mine was saying to me yesterday, well, gee, what about when medical breakthroughs allow people to have robotic arms or legs and they participate in sports? Do you say, well, they shouldn't be allowed to participate because they're able to do something that you can't do normally?
Quite a hypothetical, though.
Well, but realistic.
Yeah.
We've seen people who run on prosthetic legs, for
Sure.
example, and is that an advantage over someone else? I don't know.
That one had a very unpredictable ending, we will put it that way, a past Olympian. Phil, I want to ask you, though, is an opportunity being missed here to decouple some of the issues in this discussion, to talk separately about whether posting the photo was right or wrong from an elected representative, and then also discussing separately the rules of the Maine Principals Association?
Yeah, it absolutely should be decoupled. And I think what you've said is worth repeating, and that is it was an association that developed these regulations. It wasn't legislation that was signed by the governor that put us in this conversation. It was a small group of people who say, we're gonna sponsor these athletic events, and we've decided to interpret who can participate in this way. Well, if we don't like it, we the people, as Pat has suggested, there's a legislature in session.
What's the likelihood that the MPA might reconsider their ruling on this?
I don't know.
look,
I suspect. Ethan, what do you think? Because I don't know the answer.
I certainly hope they don't. And Phil, that's totally wrong. Look, the Maine Human Rights Act is the Maine Human Rights Act, and we, the people, passed a law that protected people based on gender discrimination. We, the people, passed that in 2005. So this is something absolutely that's in law, and the legislature passed laws that we, the people, put them there to protect transgender students, to make sure that they have the resources they need and they're not discriminated against. So the Maine Principals Association is merely looking at those, like all associations do, looking at state law and saying, okay, we want to make sure that we comply with state law. And this is what they put in place. And nobody challenged that. And nobody said, no court told them that they shouldn't do that anymore. So let's be clear. I disagree with you also. I think the legislature is strongly in support of transgender non-discrimination, of all students being able to participate in the sports that are associated with their gender. So I don't think that there would be bipartisan support to overturn this. And Donald Trump is just trying to force the state to do something that our elected representatives have said, no, we won't do.
Ethan, we're running out of time here before we do need to go to our break, but quickly I want to get your thoughts before we move forward here. The White House announcing 2 federal investigations here under Title IX. How significant are those investigations and the federal government, the White House, taking those next steps as we show you here the details of those?
It's very significant. I think they will lose in court, but it's very significant to try to use the government to force states like this to go against what actually has been put in place by federal law. So it's not significant in the sense I don't think they'll win, but it is significant that we now have a president who's trying to arm his education department to try to force states to do something that would go against the laws of that state.
All right, we are going to come back with more on this issue. I appreciate the three of you being right here. We're going to take a break before we get more from our experts on this spat between the governor and the president. Also, when we return today on Total Maine, confronting threats, Nora Hogan is traveling to Connecticut to see how a program to prevent shootings could work here in Maine. And he's an expert in government waste who is concerned about DOGE and cutting jobs in government programs. We're going to talk with a native Mainer now getting criticism from Elon Musk himself. That's when Total Maine returns. Stay right here.